Hello and good morning. Thank you for joining today's session. Today we're going to talk about getting the most out of your SAP HANA environment with intelligent data platform, or in other words, storage. My name is Chris Kinsler, and I am the HPE Product Management Lead in the Storage Division focused on SAP. And I am joined by Anshul Nagori, who is also on my team, and he is the HPE Storage Technical Marketing Engineer. Focus on SAP. So next slide, Angel. All right, so today we're going to cover three things. The first is HPE leadership and SAP HANA trends. The next is HPE's end-to-end portfolio for SAP HANA. It is super rich. And the last thing we're going to discuss about is transform your SAP HANA environment to a hybrid cloud mobility model using something that we have called HPE GreenLake. Next slide. So this slide here, I actually love showing, right? So this is a Gartner slide that was created in 2019. And it shows that HPE is by far the leader in the SAP HANA deployment space. So how did we get to be leaders? We're number one on appliances, number one on TDI, number one on B4 and S4 HANA, and then also we are number one on cloud hosted deployments. So when you look at this chart, we all know that the transition to HANA is very difficult, right? That's a fact. And when you choose HPE, the beautiful thing is we know what we're doing. And so we can easily deploy your HANA environment. And we are the easy, nice, good, safe choice in this particular case. So we're bigger than the three closest competitors combined. So again, certainly when you're looking to deploy HANA, engage us and we can certainly talk about your deployment and help you out. Next slide. All right, so here's some of the SAP HANA industry trends. So we're hearing that 70% of customers want to keep their SAP HANA deployment on-prem and keep control, right? So again, when you push your HANA environment to the cloud, it's not all that safe sometimes, right? So all customers want to keep that because HANA is actually running their business, whether it's a manufacturing company, an automotive company, whatever that is, you want to keep your database on-prem. And so you're not alone if you're one of those 70%. So again, engage HPE. The other thing that's interesting per Gartner is that 35% of on-premise customers have yet to initiate production HANA workloads. So this really shows again that it's a difficult transition from SAP Core to SAP HANA, and you're definitely needing to make that transition, and you need infrastructure that is guaranteed to run HANA appropriately, which is where TDI comes in, which we'll talk about in a few seconds here. And that ultimately makes me talk about the right-hand part of this slide, which is the magic year is 2027. So SAP has pushed out the year from 2025 to 2027 that ends mainline support for SAP Core. So you absolutely have to start planning for your HANA deployment now, right? So this ultimately means two things. Number one is if you want to do one last refresh your SAP Core environment, now's the time, which will push you a few more years. And the second thing is, just like we've discussed, the transition to HANA is difficult. So you really should start planning that HANA deployment now and make sure to work with a company like HPE that knows what they're doing so we can ease that transition for you. Next slide. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I am a storage guy, right? Have been for 20 years now in the industry doing storage. So with that being said, it's absolutely irresponsible for me not to mention the fact that we have the best portfolio in the world driven by our compute infrastructure. So we have HPE ProLiant, which is SAP HANA TDI certified. We also have HPE Superdome Flex, which there is no question about it that the HPE Superdome Flex is by far the best at running HANA in the world, right? It scales better than everything else. Its reliability is better than everything else. So it is by far the best. In the lower left-hand corner, if you're looking at a hyper-converged infrastructure, we also have SimpliVity, which can deploy HANA and is indeed, again, SAP HANA TDI certified. In the middle is storage. I'm going to breeze through that because we're going to cover it a little bit more in a few minutes. And then the right-hand side is composable infrastructure, which of course we have too, and you can also run your applications on that. Next slide, Angel. All right, so being a storage guy, a question that I'm asked all the time in every single customer engagement that I have is, since HANA is an in-memory database, do you even need persistent storage? And the answer is absolutely yes, you do. So it's used for persistence. And the analogy that I like to use is a Word document. So if you think that I'm at home typing a super important Word document for my boss or management chain, I set it to autosave and I also hit save intermittently. And that is exactly what is going on in a HANA environment. So again, like I said, it's used for persistence, and every 5 minutes, it's quote auto-saving, or in other words, doing save points, which is saving the database, and logs are written upon commit. The boot image is also hosted by the storage. And then in general, generic sizing for storage is about 3 times the database size. So storage is absolutely mandatory for a HANA environment. Next slide. So there are a bunch of reasons why I love working for HPE, but in particular, me being a storage guy, the best one is the fact that we have 5 SAP HANA TDI certified platforms to run your persistent storage. So again, we talked about HCI and SimpliVity. We also have HPE MSA storage, which is our lowest end device. We have deployed a ton of these. I think HPE sold somewhere near 220,000 total of these things over the years we've done it. And it's also SAP HANA TDI certified. We've had good luck with those. We also have HPE Nimble storage, which we'll cover in a few more minutes. Same with HPE Primera, which is our flagship. And then on the far right-hand side, we have HPE XP8, which is also SAP HANA TDI certified. So if you're looking for absolutely massive scale, HPE XP8 is an awesome, awesome choice for that. So the cool thing is whenever I go in and talk to you guys, I know for sure, I'm 100% confident that we will indeed have a platform that is SAP HANA TDI certified. So regardless of your cost sensitivity or scale needs, we will absolutely have a product that will cover your HANA environment. Next slide. All right, so when we talk about our lead with platforms in the HANA space, we talk about HPE Primera and HPE Nimble storage. So first, let's cover the one on the left-hand side, which is HPE Primera. So again, when we talk about deploying HANA, it's all about safety, right? You cannot let your data go away or else your business will be shut down, right? So the cool thing about Primera is it has a 100% data availability guarantee, right? I mean, what other box does that other than Primera? I actually don't think of any. Also, it's an all-active architecture. And recently, CRN just announced that Primera won the Tech Innovators 2020 award for enterprise storage. So again, an awesome, awesome choice for any workload. By the way, Primera has enough horsepower that if you want to consolidate, that's a great option to do that as well. So if you're running your Oracle database or SQL or HANA, you can absolutely confidently consolidate onto one box. On the right-hand side, we have HPE Nimble storage, which has a proven 6 nines availability, right? So we have something called HPE InfoSight, which is an AI platform, and it has proven 100% that Nimble has 6 nines availability. It has an on-demand experience, and then kind of down the middle, let's talk about the things that the 2 boxes have in common. So again, it has advanced embedded AI, which is what we call HPE InfoSight. InfoSight actually predicts and prevents and fixes things 86% of the time before you even know there's an issue, right? So you don't even have to have human interaction. They're both very simple. They're both customer installable. They both have something that we call timeless ownership, which ultimately means that every 3 years, if you have a service contract with us, we'll refresh your hardware. Also, any new features that we release, all you have to do is download the latest software pack, and you can just integrate them on the box, so they're free. So that's huge for customers. One of the things that I like to talk about all the time is that we just released a new software on Primera, and it actually increased node density by 50%. So we're always innovating and making sure to get you guys the best product. And all you have to do is download the new software, and it's free. It has an as-the-service delivery, which is through GreenLake, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. It has cloud mobility, which Anshul is going to cover with something called HPE Cloud Volumes Backup. And then, of course, they're both integrated with data protection, which brings me to the next slide, Anshul. So Anshul's going to cover this in a little bit more depth, but I do want to mention the fact that we have HPE RMC, which is integrated in the boxes, right? So this makes it so you have application consistent snapshots. It's up to 23 times faster backups and 15 times faster restores. And a bunch of our customers are using it for copy data management. Oops. Also, we have StoreOnce, which is a purpose-built backup appliance, which is SAP HANA Studio integrated. So again, it's application consistent, and it really gives the DBA control, and it gives faster backups and restores, which is integrated with the Catalyst plugin. We have HPE Storage, which is tape. I hear from you guys all the time that you still want tape, and so we absolutely have that offering there. And then Anshul's going to cover in depth something called HPE Cloud Volumes Backup, which also works for HANA, which gives you that nice hybrid cloud availability. Next slide, perfect. Okay, so even in the times of coronavirus, we are selling significant amounts of storage into major companies, right? So our storage is literally running HANA, right? All these companies across the world are using it. They love it, and so it should absolutely give you confidence that when you're looking for persistent storage for HANA, we've been there, we've done that, and we're a great trusted advisor and a great safe choice. Next slide. All right, so when we talk about the number of deployments HPE has done, we have our services organization is called HPE Point Next. So I think on that Gartner slide, it shows about 27,000 deployments that we've done. And of those, HPE Point Next has been a part of most of those, right? So they're absolute experts in deployments. And ultimately, there are tons and tons of customer stories about engaging HPE Point Next, and they not only make the transition to HANA easy, but they actually pull in the deployment date, right? So, which is very rare. So these guys are absolute experts, and you should absolutely leverage them when you're looking to deploy HANA. Next slide. Okay, so we also have HPE GreenLake, which is our new consumption-based IT model. So all you have to do is it enables you to change from build monthly as a service and move from CapEx to OpEx, which is the huge thing, right? So you can increase capacity, scale up and scale down easily. You can decrease capacity if you need, and it's 100% managed for you, deployed on-prem. So again, it gives you that, we mentioned earlier, 70% of customers want their HANA deployment on-prem. Well, this is that cloud-like feeling, but on-prem, right? So it's the absolute best of all worlds. Next slide. We also just announced something, I guess, 6 months ago or so, called SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud Customer Edition. And this is HEC, right? So SAP has their cloud hosted deployment called HEC. And this is HEC, and then we bring it to you partnering with SAP. And it's deployed on, just like I mentioned before, GreenLake, right? So SAP comes in, we deploy it on GreenLake, and it's hosted, and you're in great shape, right? So another awesome option if you want to keep use HPE infrastructure as well as keep that infrastructure on-prem, so you have the ultimate safety of your HANA. Next slide. All right, I think this is you, Anshul. Why don't you take it from here?
Sure, Chris. Thanks a lot. So continuing from the point Chris left, in terms of supporting multiple ways of deploying HANA. Okay, so HPE has been, not just the leader in terms of hardware infrastructure, we've also been able to support virtualization of HANA in a big way. Okay, so HPE has been a partner with VMware for a long time, and we are the market leaders when it comes to deploying workloads on VMware vVols. Okay, so if you recall, we have VMFS as a very popular way of deploying virtualized infrastructure, and now we have vVols as well. Okay, so vVols kind of make your storage provisioning and storage management very easy and seamless as compared to VMFS data stores. Okay, and we have more than 60% of market share already. So a lot of our HANA customers are now slowly trying to adopt vVols deployment, and that model has kind of become the norm with a lot of big customers out there. So in terms of supporting a virtualized SAP environment, okay, if you see on the right, we have VMFS, RDMs, and vVols as three major methods of presenting storage to the HANA VM. Okay, the advantage that vVols offer is that unlike VMFS data stores, where you first create the storage volume and then present those volumes to the hypervisor and then create VMDKs on top of it, vVols allow you to create something called as storage policies, which are a one-time thing. Once you've created these storage policies, all you need to do is to create the VM and then create the VMDKs it requires. Everything down the hypervisor layer will be automatically created. So if you create a VMDK of 200 GB, it will automatically create a volume of 200 GB on the storage array. Okay, and it will keep managing it. If you increase the volume size, it will increase the vVol. So the management of storage in your virtualization infrastructure is almost nil. Okay, and the storage policies will have features like deduplication, thin provisioning, compression, everything built in. So once you define the policy, it's pretty straightforward. You could use the same storage policy for multiple virtual machines, for multiple workloads. Okay, so it kind of is true autonomic volume provisioning. You even have better performance control, where what workload is writing to which VMDK and which volume, right? It's not that one big LUN or one big data store is comprising of multiple VMs and VMDKs. Okay. And if you offer all the leading services like snapshots, replication, cloning, thin provisioning on vVols. Okay. So you get the best of both the worlds, the virtualization and the storage world. For vVol support, we have the VASA API provider, which is the VMware API for storage awareness. And this provider is built into the box. Okay, so if you have a Primera or a Nimble system, you already have vVols enabled on it. Okay. Now, after talking about the bare metal or infrastructure deployments, and then you have the virtualization deployments, a lot of SAP customers are now trying to consolidate their workloads. Okay, when it comes to how often their HANA database is accessed. Okay, so for example, if I start today with a 2 TB HANA deployment, okay, down the line after 5 years, my HANA database may grow to say a 10 TB instance, and out of the 10 TB, 5 years down the line, I might only still access 2 to 3 TB of mission critical data. Okay, so what about the remaining 7 TB? Right, that still is residing in your memory, and you're still investing a lot of amount to kind of maintain it. Okay, so how about you change the layer where this data resides? Instead of putting it in memory, how about we put it or move it to the disk, where it is cheaper, and you know you can utilize the memory for all your mission critical data. Okay, so this is the principle behind data tiering. Okay, so in this diagram, if you see, the one layer in red is the data which is mission critical and is going to reside always in memory, and the three layers below in yellow depict the data that is warm, okay, or the data that is less frequently accessed, and the layers in blue are the data that are almost not accessed at all. Okay, so we can call it hot, warm, and cold tiering. Okay, and the green boxes here depict the methods that SAP HANA has to support data tiering. Okay, so there are three primary methods for warm data tiering: extension nodes, native storage extension, and extended stores. Okay, and the HP storage portfolio supports all of these three types of data tiering technologies. Okay, so they are for different HANA workloads, if it's a native HANA system, or if it's a BW or a suite on HANA. Okay, so you can choose which method works best for your workload, and rest assured that HPE Storage will have an answer to support that. Now, coming to the topic that Chris was mentioning, okay, a lot of customers now have either the interest or the push from their management or peers to move to the cloud. Okay, and this movement can be of multiple types. Either you would want to move your infrastructure or SAP landscapes to the cloud, or you would want to take it slow and try out moving the non-production workloads, or you could try to use cloud as your backup destination. Okay, so that's what HPE has offered now, which is called HPE Cloud Volumes Backup. So it's a backup as a service offering in the cloud. It means that you can have your SAP landscape running on HPE hardware or non-HPE hardware. So you can see on the left we have HPE or other storage systems. You could use any of the ISVs listed here: Commvault, Veeam, Veritas, NetBackup, Microsoft Data Protector. Okay, these might already be in your environment and data centers. So we integrate with all these ISVs as well as with a lot of storage vendors. Okay, and all you need to do is to use the Cloud Volumes backup portal to create a store in Cloud Volumes, and then use that as the backup destination. Okay, so you don't really use or deploy any software upfront. You use your existing infrastructure, but change your backup destination from an on-premise location to a cloud location. On the right side, if you want, you could restore this Cloud Volumes backup um, data to another site, which is HP storage or HP infrastructure, or you could try to use the public cloud offerings like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, along with the data that is present in Cloud Volumes Backup. Okay. So this essentially provides you a central repository in the cloud for all your data. It can be HANA workloads or non-HANA workloads. Okay. And you can use this as a starting point for your hybrid cloud strategy or journey, or even your multi-cloud strategy. Okay. So this kind of is another representation of the same Cloud Volumes backup story. One of the things that I want to highlight is HPE Recovery Manager Central, okay, which is a tool that we offer, which has the capability to integrate with HPE and non-HPE storage systems, and backup your workloads from on-prem to Cloud Volumes backup. Okay. And as I mentioned, we already support all the major ISVs, backup ISVs out there. So talking about Recovery Manager Central in a bit of detail, RMC or Recovery Manager Central is a tool or a product that we offer, which has data protection, data management, and data mobility capabilities. Okay, so it kind of started as a backup recovery tool, and then we kind of enhanced it further, where it can offer you copy data management capabilities and also data mobility. Okay, so you can move your data within the primary storage systems on-prem, from on-prem to cloud, from your primary storage to secondary storage, and vice versa. Okay. On the left side, if you can see, we have integration with all the leading workloads out there. In terms of databases, we have Oracle, SQL Server, HANA already integrated. We have VMware integration as well. So RMC for VMware is a tool which integrates with vCenter. So all of you, most of them would be familiar with vCenter. So it's exactly the same UI, and you can use RMCV seamlessly there. Okay. So on the right side, if you see here, you can have workloads running on Primera or Nimble system, and you can use RMC to back them up directly to either an on-premise Store One system, which is our flagship secondary storage product, or as I mentioned in the previous slide, you could use RMC to back up the workloads to Cloud Volumes Backup, or for long-term archival storage, we have something called as Cloud Bank Storage. What it essentially means is, from Store Ones, the first backup that lands on Store Ones can be stored on the public cloud object storage offerings like Amazon S3 or Azure Blob Storage for a longer term period. Okay, so essentially does the same thing as what on-premise tapes do. Okay, but then you could use cloud as your long-term archival repository. So, basically the key takeaways from this session are that HPE is the trusted advisor when it comes to deploying SAP HANA. Okay, as we have seen, we have the largest market share. We have the largest portfolio, not just with storage, but also with the server ecosystem. And we are definite that the customer can have any requirement around the SAP landscape. We surely have an answer to that. The storage portfolio that we have is the richest in the industry. We have the smallest MSA as the entry point, and then based on your performance and scalability requirements, you can keep growing from MSA to Nimble to Primera, and then to XP8 systems. We have a ton of expertise. We have been a close partner with SAP for almost 30 years now, and we have experts on our team, not just with the storage systems, with servers, with services that we offer. We have HP GreenLake as an offering, which you can deploy as a service in a consumption-based model on-prem. So that kind of says that we have a lot of expertise across the portfolio for your SAP HANA requirements. Okay. So essentially, that's all from our end. We would be happy to answer any queries that you have, and feel free to reach out to us in case you have any questions, or you want to know anything more about any of these offerings. These are some assets that will help you in terms of understanding our portfolio a bit more. We have some white papers listed here. We have some videos out there on our HP YouTube channel. So definitely recommend to go there and watch them. Okay, we have some reference configuration around vHANA, and a lot of material around copy data management using RMC.